Hello, my name is ManuS and welcome to another MTGCardmarket video series of mine. Today I'm gonna do something a little different. I figured since MTGCardmarket is pretty scarce on limited content, even though I'm not per se a limited expert, I still have like a decent limited record. I have like 51% win at Pro Tour level over the 5 Pro Tours that I played in my life. So I'm at least like a half decent limited player, and I figured now that the new set is out, it's a great time to start diving into limited together, play some Aether Revolt draft together, and explore the new format together. So let's jump into a Swiss queue and start drafting. So I just hope you guys gonna enjoy this experience as much as I will, and just gonna give this a shot. So we got Mechanized Production as our mythic rare. This is probably pretty decent, although a bit situational. This is a pretty good 3-drop. Then this is also actually a pretty good 5-drop. Green is generally pretty strong in this set. This is a bit so-so, I guess, since you have to have enough good targets. Not particularly exciting. This is a solid 2-drop. That kind of brings a token with it, so that's also a good card. Good old pacifism, and a bit more expensive. This is also a pretty great card. All in all, the cards are all pretty good, but I think I'm gonna go with the pacifism for now. That's just pretty versatile card, and there's a couple of green cards, and I'm not sure which color I like best in this format yet, so I don't really have a color preference. It's a bit of a commitment and also pretty clunky. It's kind of a nice effect, but picking a 3-color card this early is not so nice. Don't really want to be 3 colors in this set either. Don't think there's that much good fixing. So let's see what we got. This is a pretty good option. Aether Herder is alright. This is a bit worse version of the first striker from before. Like, my tendency right now would be Hungry Flames, but let's double check. Don't know all the cards by heart yet. Yeah, I think that's a fine pick. Didn't really miss much else. Is a bit so-so thanks to the 1 toughness. Not too impressive. This is pretty decent actually. Another pacifism definitely is a good option. This is pretty underwhelming, although it's kind of flexible. Having a falter effect attached to a decent removal is actually pretty solid, but pacifism sure trumps that. This is pretty decent but low impact. I guess we could also take shock. It's close. I think I'll like pacifism, the clunky pacifism, a little better, just because it deals with anything. And it also has the upside of kind of being an exile effect pretty quickly, so it can't even be answered a lot of the time because it's already gone. And this is not particularly exciting. It's a mediocre vehicle. This is kind of okay. This is kind of a decent 5-drop. The stats are a bit low, but the effect has a nice upside. This is definitely an option. The problem just is that we don't have any vehicles yet, so I'll probably just go with the Dawn Feather Eagle for now. This might very well be a mistake because the card's a bit clunky, but had to decide on something. This is a pretty solid option with the Revolt. This is decent, but not too exciting, especially since the Revolt doesn't do a whole lot special for us. This guy is pretty solid actually, but I think Deadeye Harpooner is a bit better if we can reasonably set up some Revolt and then just kill a tapped attacker from the opponent. So let's roll with Deadeye Harpooner. Alright, Bastion Enforcer, pretty mediocre 3-drop, another Dawn Feather Eagle. We're still not really locked into red either. Nothing too special. This is pretty solid actually. Might just go with that guy. And Hinterland Drake, like 2-3 flying, is pretty good stats, and the fact that it can't block artifact creatures is not that big of a deal, especially given that we might not even want to be blocking much with this anyway. I think, since I'm not too excited for a second of those guys and red doesn't seem that open, we might just see if we go into blue-white and abandon our Hungry Flames if we have to, even though the card's really good, and we can still end up splashing it potentially. But a Bastion Enforcer. This is a pretty solid improvise creature, I would say, if we get some artifacts to power it out. It's another like okay pseudo removal. So I guess it's like Ice Over or Inventor. I think I'll probably go with Ice Over for now. Although this card might just be not that great, but it's nice that it also like shuts down, like with people tapping creatures to crew. Cards like Ice Over and Deadeye Harpooner should be much easier to utilize than usual. Pretty flexible trick. This is kind of okay-ish. I'll take the trick for now. Countless Gears Renegade. Negate. Pretty underwhelming red 3-drop, so I'll just take the solid white 2-drop. And another late Drake. Seems decent. Maybe I'm overrating it, but I feel like it shouldn't go that late. Pretty clunky bounce spell. This is pretty underwhelming. Guess I'll take the... Since we are kind of likely in blue now, I'll just take the not so exciting bounce spell. Might still be okay. I mean, Repulse was great, but this is much worse given that it's one more expensive. Guess I'll pick this due to lack of alternatives. And I guess a Decommission could be a decent main deck card in this format. with all the artifacts, and it's at least instant, so it has some trick value. And get some nice tempo swings if they crew a vehicle and then you blow it up, so they lose 2 attackers basically in the process. Alright. This is pretty underwhelming for our deck. Ooh, I almost wanna like pick this just for modern, and because it's probably also not that cheap either. It's decent. Another Countless Gears Renegade. This is pretty good, but we are too deep in blue-white by now, I think, to pick that guy. Pooh, Treacherous Revolution is also pretty good, actually, pretty solid. We need some early drops, so I think inclined to just take Countless Gears Renegade here, even though it's not a flashy pick. It definitely helps our curve and scales nicely into the late game, because you can get like some value out of it if you draw it later and don't play it on turn 2. It's a couple of nice cards that can wheel for us. This is a decent vehicle. We also have another Pacifism, Caught in the Brights, so I'm inclined to just take the 3rd Caught in the Brights. Should definitely cover our bases in regard to removal. The card's a bit worse because the unit can still be, the creature can still be used to crew, but we have the potential to pick up some vehicles to exile them. So the card is definitely worse in this format than it usually would be, but still not shabby overall, I think. It's like an okay vehicle basically. Allows us to use a blocker to crew and then untap it again, so basically kind of crews itself, which is actually pretty decent with Countless Gears Renegade into Garrison and 3/4 is pretty good stats on a 3-drop. We are not planning on full out attacking. Reverse Engineer is also pretty good, but we have 0 artifacts yet, and I think we wouldn't mind some vehicles for our Caught in the Brights for the mentioned reasons. So I think it might be a bit ambitious, but I think I'll take this over the Reverse Engineer. Another alley evasion. It's not so great. This is actually an okay 2-drop, given that we might splash Hungry Flames, and we want some artifact for potential improvise and stuff. Not sure if we want another alley evasion. No, I think I'll just take that guy for now. It's nothing exciting, but it's another 2-drop and it's an artifact. A decent, I guess, vehicle, but only decent. Another Hinterland Drake. We already have a million 3-drops and we might even wheel another one. Definitely not what we want. I think I'll just take Peace Walker Colossus for now, even though it might not be that great. I'm not 100% sure how good the card is. Ooh, that's nice. Fire Patrol. That's solid. Plus 4-drop is welcome, and 3/2 flyer with upside is pretty good. Alright, so no particularly good options, so I think I'll take another alley evasion, which is pretty decent since it's a pretty flexible trick. There's the other hinterland drake as I expected. This is probably not what we want, so I think I'll just take another drake. Go deep on the flyers. I guess that guy is not worth much, but I need it for constructed, so I'll just take it, and there's nothing for us to take anyway. And yeah, I think I'll like drake better than osprey, since the one toughness makes it beat stuff like osprey, and I feel like the guy is not gonna care too much about blocking artifact creatures, and it's actually a better blocker against non-artifact creatures still. So that's nice. Our deck is pretty clunky right now in the 3-drop, definitely gotta try and mitigate that. Let's see how good that guy is. Probably not too great, but a fine late pickup for a curve. I guess having a negate doesn't hurt as an option. So we have a lot of good cards actually, but we definitely need a better curve. Maybe Hinterland Drake is just worth in this format, I think. But with 0 games played in Aether Revolt Limited, I gotta like roll with my intuition. And as I said, it's just basically starting my journey in Aether Revolt Limited together with the viewers. So if there's people watching that know more than I do already, let me know in the comments. Happy to discuss these things. Currently I'm just working based off of my intuition and experience and just picking cards that seem like they should be good, but sometimes that impression is wrong, and the fact that we already got 4 drakes so easy makes me wonder if either blue is really bad in the format and people don't want to be blue, or that card is just way worse than it seems, because its downside matters much more than I think it should. We'll see how it plays out. Alright, so for now this can be in the sideboard. Not too likely we're gonna splash here. Oh, Cultivator's Caravan is definitely decent and would help our splash as well. Decent 2-drop, but not too exciting. Not many artifact creatures. This is okay-ish, but worse than Caravan. So yeah, I think Cultivator Caravan it is. More 3-drops away, because we don't have enough of those yet, clearly, including our splash card. Oh, Spire Bluff Canal for our splash, that's nice. But Aerial Responder is also really, really good. And another 3-drop, kind of fits the theme of our deck. Not Reversal. Okay-ish Flyer. I think all in all this guy is probably too good to give up. Then again, Canal has some value and fixes Hungry Flames if we want to play them. Aerial Responder is so good though. Then again, we have so many 3-drops, I'll just take the rare that's worth a couple tickets and fixes our potential splash. Could easily be wrong, but just have so many 3-drops already. I'm gonna consider not playing this guy. Decent crew and enabler, I guess. Veteran Motorist, if only we were in red. It's a decent 4-drop flyer actually. It's basically just a Snapping Drake. Not a Wind Drake. Got enough of those already. It's the red Puzzle Knot. It's not gonna help us much. I think just gonna go with another flyer, another solid flyer. Also has some nice flexibility added to it. has some nice utility in our deck. It's an okay vehicle, I guess. Not too exciting. No assembly workers in our deck. There's another decent 5-drop flyer though. So it's between Skywell, Harrier and Mechanic, I would say. Hmm. 3-4 is actually pretty good. I think I'll just take that guy. But it might be wrong, maybe our deck needs the 2-drops more. But there's a couple more options here. This is a pretty decent token maker. I mean, we don't have any improvise for it to matter much. So I guess I'll rather just take Aviary Mechanic to have some more actual 2-drops, because that seems like what our deck needs and wants. And we don't have that much use for the servo tokens. Not what we want. This is another decent 2-drop actually for our deck. Not really. So again, between Harrier and Seerist. Seerist's actually like pretty decent, and this we have Moray to add some more energy if we get there. We already have a bunch of 2-drops now, so maybe I'll just take the Harrier. Might want the card draw just as like a curve topper, especially given that there's not really anything good in the pack, so I think I'll just take the Tethered Ambition, though it's a bit clunky. It's a pretty decent aggressive 4-drop flyer, so I'll take that. And we don't have enough artifact creatures, I think, for build to last to be that impressive, but it's still a decent trick, I guess. We have 2 tricks that are a bit weaker but more flexible. I think the consistency added by Theorist is not bad, so I'll just take the Theorist. Ibex is actually pretty nice. I think it's better than another Pioneer. Since we already have a lot of good flying attackers, we need some good blockers, and this seems like a good blocker. So our crew, this can be crewed, this cannot be crewed, this can be crewed with it. While it can't attack alone, it can block alone, which is actually decent, so I think it's a fine option to consider. Not really what we want, but a sideboard card. Another random 3-drop. Alright, deck turned out okay, I think. Let's see how well it performs. Alright, let's build the deck. Group creatures separately. Definitely have to make some cuts. I think one main deck decommission should be good. Probably want to splash this with Caravan and Canal because it's kind of free. This is probably not so impressive. We already have a decent bunch of 2-drops now. So let's see. Not even sure if I want to play that guy, because we basically need to always use 2 creatures to crew it. Which doesn't seem good. Yeah, I think we're not gonna run Colossus. just play these two. So add some lands. 6. So what do we want to run? Do you like 8, 9, 8? Alright, so let's cut this down. So this is actually pretty nice effect and at least as valuable as the force toughness on Skywhirl Harrier. Got some removal. Got the flyers, any 2-drops we don't want to run. This guy is kind of so-so and probably the worst 2-drop that we have. Then again, as a blocker, it's like not worse than Trusty Companion. This is definitely not impressive. How many artifacts do we have? 2. Some from these. 1 from this. Think we can maybe cut this. I mean, it's a sorcery, it's kind of clunky. I mean, it's kind of a nice way to like pull ahead in the late game, but our deck seems fairly kind of like Air Force aggressive. I think I just want to cut this splash simply because we just don't need it, and it just makes our deck slightly worse, and we have to cut so many cards still. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut the Infiltrator over the other 2-drops. It's a pretty good 3-drop. Not sure how much I like that one, but I think the fact that it basically crews itself is pretty nice. Let's see. Maybe we don't need decommission main deck, but it should be pretty good in this format. I mean, our deck alone has like 6 targets at least. Maybe this is just too clunky. I don't know. Probably gonna cut one of the 5-drop flyers just to reduce our curve a bit. Then maybe just rely on the aggression and cut this, since we don't have that many ways to enable it. Shipwreck Moray is pretty unimpressive. That can go. Alright, so 3 more cards to cut. I mean, while this is kind of clunky, it's pretty nice to have a free bounce effect to interact with various things. I mean, maybe we just want a card like an Hinterland Drake, since Deadeye Harpooner seems like it should be good enough. Problem is just that our deck doesn't seem like it's gonna be that great at setting up Revolt. So maybe it's worse than I think it is. But the effect is really powerful though. And I think I want some vehicles to make Caught in the Brides better, because it is actually a lot worse in this format just because of crewing. And triggering the exile is seems pretty important. Maybe I'll just don't play main deck decommission with the amount of removal and tricks that we have. Still some stuff that we need to cut. Maybe another 2-drop. Theorist seems pretty good. I don't know. I mean, Theorist is kind of bad at crewing both our vehicles, but it's really nice that he blocks on the ground early, blocks all the like servo tokens and stuff, and helps us hit our land drops and not flood out and stuff, especially after we cut Tezzerets ambition. Maybe cut one of the tricks. Yeah, maybe cut an alley evasion. The card is nice, it's kind of low impact as well. Drawing multiples can be lackluster. Maybe just cut one Hinterland Drake. I mean, the card seems so good, like a 2-3 flyer. Can't block anything but artifact creatures, seems really good. Since, after all, there's not a million artifact creatures still. We have so many 3-drop creatures with all the vehicles and stuff, so that we maybe just can cut one. Not super happy about cutting one, but I think it's better than cutting more spells and creatures in other curve slots. So I think that's what I'm gonna submit. And see you in a moment with the first round.